You are now listening to WSN, the Wolf Sports Network.
Live from Carrollton, Georgia, this is Sports Pack.
Home of the hottest takes.
I'm going to disagree with you right there because the Dallas Cowboys are actually going to have less wins this year than the team that I'm about to talk about. And the team that I'm about to talk about are the Atlanta Falcons.
The hottest debates.
He's the all-time leading scorer, a four-time MVP. LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever, not MJ.
Yeah, greatest losing in the finals, maybe.
And some of the top interviews in sports radio.
Super Bowl champion, Brad Johnson.
This is Joe Urso, five-time national champion head baseball coach for the University of Tampa.
This is five-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor.
This is President Brendan Kelly. You're listening to Sports Pack.
You know what time it is. Wolves Country, let's ride.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Sports Pack. It is a beautiful Thursday evening here in the City of Dreams, Carrollton, Georgia. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the bling on my chest. You can see the bling on my finger. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're listening traditionally on the airwaves, earlier today we had our March Madness Bracket Championship ceremony. I was the champion, so not only do I have this beautiful gold medal, but I have this championship ring. Shout out to Gianna with the silver medal. Very beautiful. The funny thing is,
See the ring.
Yeah, see the ring. It's beautiful. You know, it has some weight to it, you know. Show it off to the camera if you can. You know, it's a pretty nice little chunk for the champion. What can I say? But we have a incredible, impactful, beautiful sports pack for y'all today. We have an amazing interview with one of our great friends, one of the best friends to Sports Pack, Mr. Cole Fisher. We're talking NBA. We're talking NFL. We're talking sports news because the Masters is going on right now. Gavin was at the Braves game today. He has a lot to say about that. But first things first, we are brought to you by Dine West. Remember, you can always reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. Call the Wolves card office at 678-839-6525 or stop by their office in the UCC. With all that being said, here's Cole.
West Georgia dials up a 29-yard score on 4th and 6.
D1, baby.
Go Wolves. And now it's time for a very special guest to join Sports Pack, West Georgia superstar, GSC champion, Mr. Cole Fisher. How's it going, man?
What's going on, guys? Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Now, this season was a dream season for the West Georgia basketball team, not only winning the GSC championship in the regular season, but winning the GSC tournament. Wolf Sports Network was out there strong. We were watching y'all, supporting y'all. That Sunday, y'all won the championship. We all agree was the best sporting event we've ever been to while being a student here.
Absolutely.
Just walk us through that experience, man, winning the championship that y'all set out to win. Remember the last season you lost in heartbreaking fashion in the championship. A year later, going out there, accomplishing it, getting the ring. What was that experience like?
You know, that's been a goal ever since I've been at school here, and for us to accomplish that goal is so huge. And, you know, what we did to get there, you know, not only winning the regular season, which is super hard to do, but finishing, you know, that great regular season with the tournament win. And then, like you guys said, Wolf Sports Network popped out, man. You guys' support was incredible, so I definitely got to shout you guys out for sure. And then winning that, too, like last year, heartbreaking loss to West Alabama, to be able to beat them in the semifinal game, like, that gave us even that much more energy to go and finish the job the next day on Sunday against Huntsville. And to get our get back against West Alabama and then to go and finish the job and beat Huntsville was huge. And it was just so great to accomplish that, get a ring, you know, that's always the goal. And to be able to accomplish that goal this year, it was just huge. And all that hard work paid off. We've been working so hard since August, and to be able to do that and win the ring, cut down some nets was awesome. It was huge.
Now, your entire career at West Georgia's been good, but this year there was a switch that was flipped, and you guys went from good to great. At one point, you were ranked number 3 in the entire country. What was the difference this year for this team?
I just think we had a lot of experience back because last year was a lot of first year for like Zadi, Colton, Cam. It was their first year in, and then kind of having another year under their belt and another year of, you know, working in the off season together. It gave us that much more camaraderie and teamwork, and just allowed us to gel together even more on and off the court. And that really contributed to, you know, the strides we made this year, the wins we had, and, you know, ultimately getting that much more success. I think just the time that we spent with each other and more experience and being together for that extra year really helped us to, take that next step forward. Because the talent and the work and the hard work, it was there. And so that experience and that camaraderie, I think, is what elevated us to that next level.
Now, recently you announced that you're stepping away from basketball, going out on top, a GSC champion, GSC tournament champion. I just want you to reflect on your career at West Georgia a little bit. Tell us about how you can look back on it all and just, how you feel about it now that it's come to an end.
It was a really hard decision to make, and playing basketball here, being in West Georgia, has been, arguably the best thing in my life. And playing college basketball, 3 NCAA tournament appearances, and this year being able to win the regular season, win the conference, and get a ring. It was huge, and it's been a ride, man. It's my first year was COVID, so from having to wear a mask on the sideline to hoisting up a conference tournament championship, it's been a roller coaster. And I couldn't be more grateful for my coaches and my teammates, and for the Wolf Sports Network and everyone who supported me and our team along the way. And West Georgia has just brought me so many great things, basketball-wise and relationships-wise, making new friends, and just the growth I've experienced, and especially on the court, it's taught me so many things like teamwork and hard work and communication, and just being a part of such a great team and always working hard to achieve goals. And to do that this year in the regular season and in the conference tournament was just huge, and I couldn't be more grateful for the experience I've had here.
So what's next for Cole Fisher?
Well, my goal is to go to med school. That's my dream. So I'm going to take this next year. The rest of the spring and throughout the summer, I'm going to be studying pretty hard for the MCAT, the entrance exam test. It's a 7.5-hour test. It's a beast. So I wanted to, I think that was kind of one of the main reasons why I decided to, I'm graduating this spring and calling it quits there. I don't want to use the word quit, but calling it at an end there with basketball too, was because I need a lot of time to focus on the med school stuff. And that step up to Division I basketball on top of the medical school goals that I have, it would just be really hard. And I just think that the decision that I made to focus on med school is the right one, because it's so time consuming. And so I'll be studying for that. Probably take that exam in July, and hopefully get some experience in the medical field too, through a paying job maybe, or just kind of getting out there and just getting more experience in that field.
Absolutely, man. Now, you're originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Been in the University of West Georgia's vicinity for the past 3 years?
Yeah.
So
3-4 years. Yep.
Where do you see yourself going forward? Do you see yourself kind of staying down south, or are you a little homesick? You want to go back up to Cincinnati?
Well, I love the South, to be honest. I'm a lot of my family's back home, so I do miss my family, but I wouldn't use the word homesick per se, because I do love being down here. I love that southern hospitality, But no, it's a lot warmer winters down here, which is nice. No threat of snow, but home has its benefits, down here has its benefits, but I wouldn't mind staying down here at all. Really, I think a lot of it will depend on, because I'll apply to medical schools back at home. I'll apply to some down here, and I think a lot of that will be decided kind of where I get in, and then make decisions based on that.
But Cole, one of the things I had to bring up is our Pittsburgh Steelers. The last time we had you on Sports Pack, the quarterback room was completely different.
Completely different.
Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett. Now with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields behind center, what are your expectations for our Steelers this season?
Oh, I just think with the Steelers, man, the defense has been carrying us for so long. The offense has been, it's been neutral, I would say. The energy and the passion, and really when you think of Steelers football, you think of defense, you think of guys like T.J. Watt and Cam Hayward, and how it's going to be a rough, gritty game, low scoring, and now we kind of revamped the QB room. I'm really excited for the changes that can bring, especially with a guy like Russell Wilson, veteran leadership. I know him and the Broncos had a fallout, but he's still one of the best touchdown interception ratios last year in the NFL, and I just think his ability to take care of the ball and his ability to come in and bring a veteran leadership on offense is something that the offense needs. And then you have another guy like Justin Fields who, so dynamic, so young, so much room for improvement. And I think his ceiling is so high. And, Chicago's offense is never good. Chicago never has any good quarterbacks. And so now bringing in with the Steelers, I think that's going to allow him to, better reach his potential. And I couldn't be more excited about the QB room. I think that Tomlin's going to have a great impact on those guys, and the changes we made, the Falcons guys, Arthur Smith coming over.
Right.
Hopefully he'll have a good impact on those guys too, and I'm excited to see how the offense gets revamped this year.
Now, looking 2, 3, 4 years down the line, who do you think will be under center for our Steelers? Is it going to be Justin? Or you think Russ, even though he's 35, is going to have a great year, sign that contract, and be the guy for maybe 4 or 5 more years?
That's a good question, because I remember when he first signed with the Steelers, or maybe it was before that when he was a free agent or whatever he was. He said he wanted to win like 2 more Super Bowls over the span of the next 5 years. He said something like that. So that kind of made me think. Then he signed with the Steelers. I think it's all going to depend on how he does this year. I don't think the leash is very long. I know the Steelers are paying him $1.2 million, and the Broncos are paying the rest of the $35 million. So the Steelers are going to have to step up the financial commitment next year, and Russ is going to have to earn that, because give Fields a year as a backup with Tomlin and the rest of the staff. Like I think he'll be ready to go next year. And so Russ, I mean, I don't want to say he has a lot of pressure on him, but I think that he does, honestly, because if he doesn't, win playoff games this year, take the team to the playoff and win playoff games, then I think it very well could be Fields' team next year.
Hey, man, no matter what quarterback's under center, I'm just thinking 7th Super Bowl.
Dude, me too.
There you go.
Cole, man, thank you so much for stopping by. Anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome, man. Friend of the show, Wolves legend. We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thank you.
College students who binge drink alcohol at least 3 times per week were roughly 6 times more likely to perform poorly on a test or a project as a result of drinking. That's why Printers Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to remind students drinking should be done responsibly and in an environment that discourages overindulging. Faculty won't take your hangovers as excuses.
The NBA is back. Let's go.
Well, in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics have already blown past the competition.
Everyone.
They have 62 wins. They've locked up home court not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the entire NBA playoff picture. Last night was a huge game, probably a game that decides the number 1 seed in the Western Conference between the Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets in the Mile High City. It was a great game, back and forth, but the Nuggets prevailed. Jokic, probably with his best game of the season, 41 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 16 of 20 from the field. I mean, he's shooting darn near 60% from the floor, 27 points a game, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. Right now, he is minus 3,000 to win his 3rd MVP in 4 years.
Good grief.
Wow.
Some argue it should be his 4th MVP in 4 years. Obviously,
I'm part of that song.
I am too. They gave it to Embiid last year, but Jokic probably should have won it. He proved it in the NBA championship, beating my Miami Heat, unfortunately. But looking at this Nuggets team, obviously we've talked about this. The West is stacked. I mean, the Mavericks have looked incredible. The Clippers have been great. The Thunder have been awesome all season long. Timberwolves showed they can hang with them last night. But is this Denver Nuggets team a head and shoulders, not only head and shoulders above the West, but are they on track to win their 2nd championship in a row?
They're definitely on track to win their 2nd championship in a row. I'd favor them over any team in the East. I think they have a great series with Boston. I feel like Denver will pull it out in around probably 6 or 7, more so 7 games. When it comes to being head and shoulders above everyone in the West, I don't think I'd go that far, because this Western Conference is stacked all the way up and down. You still got a team that they beat last night in the Timberwolves, who are a little weaker without Karl Anthony Towns, but they're still a threat. They've still finished this season very strong outside of that loss last night. You got the Thunder at the 3 seed. You still got the Clippers. You got teams like, as much as I hate to say it, the Lakers are still dangerous in that play-in tournament, along with the Warriors. You've got teams up and down the West. You got the Pelicans as a 6 seed. A lot of people are kind of overlooking them, even though they're in the middle of the pack. They remind me of the Knicks, the way a lot of people other than Stephen A. Smith kind of overlook them. But the Pelicans are a dangerous team as well. I think the Nuggets right now are the best team in the West, but teams like all these teams in the West, especially the Clippers, scare me when it comes down to it. And I also want to mention the Dallas Mavericks when it comes to this MVP race, because right now, what's his name? I almost said Luka. Jokic is indeed the favorite to win the MVP, and I think he will win the MVP. But Luka's making a pretty good case for himself. He dropped 29 points last night against your Miami Heat in a win they just picked up over them. Luka's averaging 33 points a game, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. He's almost averaging a triple-double a game. He's in Russell Westbrook category right now. It's kind of crazy. He's almost averaging a triple-double. He's a couple percentages away from it. So I feel like this is as close of a race as we've seen when it comes to Jokic winning an MVP. But Luka, if Luka puts together a pretty nasty playoff performance, if they can find a way to beat the Clippers this year round and he keeps playing the way he's been playing, he might mess around and take that MVP from Jokic in the last second.
Yeah, I just want to shout out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because he was the definite number 2 guy all year long. Really, he was number 1 for a while. Then, of course, Jokic took over. I just wanted to give a shout out to him. I mean, to come from what he's produced before to now be an MVP frontrunner for like half the season, incredible. Very happy for him, and that just goes to show you that the Oklahoma City Thunder are far from over when it comes to this new dynasty they're putting together. They've got all the tools necessary, and Shai's going to lead them into that new era, so shout out to him.
Yeah, I think you're right, Richard. The West is very stacked. It's really close. I mean, the Nuggets clinched the number 1 spot, but they're literally only 1 game ahead of everybody else, and it's just such a tight conference over there. It's honestly crazy. But I do think the one thing that puts the Nuggets really ahead of everybody else is that they're balanced on both sides of the floor. I mean, last night, Michael Porter Jr. scored 18 points for the Nuggets, but then also held Anthony Edwards without a bucket in the fourth quarter. So when you have players like that who can perform on offense and score and get buckets on the board, and then also shut down the key player on another team, it makes them very, very dangerous.
Yeah, and I like this Thunder team too, Gavin. I'm glad you brought them up. You and Gianna both mentioned it. They're only a game behind. They're third in the West, yes, but they're only 1 game back from the Nuggets. I mean, they're right here in the thick of it. I'm extremely excited to see what they're going to do this year because I remember I think it was like a year and a half ago. I was looking at all the draft capital and young stars they had on their team, and I was like, this is going to be a team over the next few years is going to flat out ball. I didn't expect it to happen this season. I thought it'd start going in next season. Then as they kept putting up draft picks, their teams would get better and better and better. But they pushed the timeline for me. They started a year earlier than I expected, and I think they can really do some big things in the playoffs this year. A lot of people are saying because they're young and inexperienced that they might not do anything. At the end of the day, this is basketball, man.
Yeah.
They can score points.
They score better than most of the league.
Exactly, and they've got guys up and down their roster that can get it done. Josh Giddey was their leading scorer the other night. I mean, he don't normally go after high numbers, but he put up some high numbers every now and again. I mean, they've got guys on this team that can flat out go get after you. A minor inconvenience. And he caused some minor inconveniences too. But yeah, I mean, they're a dangerous team. I'm excited to really see what they can do in the postseason.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but I think their youth and their inexperience.
Youth.
I didn't even mean to do that. Their inexperience is the main thing that brings. Yeah, that gives me trouble and doesn't really make me confident in them in this postseason. But like you said, if they get more draft capital, get more guys, I think it'll definitely make them better come next season. I think that's really what it's going to be for them.
Look, to answer my own question, sometimes you got to leave it at that. Look, to answer my own question, yes, I think the Denver Nuggets are on path to repeat as NBA champions. Obviously, the Boston Celtics are the best team in the NBA. I mean, regular season, how dominant they've been. They just signed Drew Holiday to a $135 million contract extension. He's had a great year.
Sound like the Braves as of late, anyway.
Yeah, true that. We'll get to that later in the show.
Word.
Kristaps Porzingis, been a good fit. I mean, obviously, Jason Tatum having another great scoring year, one of his most efficient yet. Jaylen Brown, sort of inconsistent, but he's still a killer, can go out there, drop 30.
I'd say he's having his best year. I'd say he's having his best year yet.
I agree.
I think he's been balling.
But see, here's the problem with the Celtics. I do not believe in any of their stars as guys that can take over a playoff series. I still do not believe in Jason Tatum. I think he's a wonderful player, but I think the media was gassing him up when they were putting him as a top 5, top 7 guy. He's fringe top 10. You can put him at 9. You can put him at 10. You cannot put him any higher. There was actually a really funny segment on First Take the other day because Stephen A. is like, oh, man, he's a fringe top 5 player. And Mad Dog Russo, who I usually disagree with, was like, okay, well, I'm going to start rattling off players. Name 9 or 10 guys, and Stephen A's even like, yeah, man, I got to admit, they're better than him. Jason Tatum, like I said, incredible regular season player, but we've seen his shooting percentages across the board dip when it matters most in the postseason. He's only shot over 46% in a postseason once in his career as a rookie. Ooh. Consistently shooting 42, 43%. Last year was 45.9%, but there were still performances where he'll shoot 3 for 18, 3 for 17. He reverts to the ISO too much. You cannot do that in the playoffs. These officials are going to allow games to be super physical. Just the other night in the Bucks and Celtics game, there's only 2 free throws attempted in the entire game. And
That was crazy.
Yo, that's
Celtics
unheard
didn't
of.
attempt a single free throw.
Yeah, and the
That's
thing is, the
unheard of.
Celtics aren't really trying because they've already got the number 1 seed locked up in the entire NBA. They don't want anyone to get hurt, but they're allowing a little more contact. It's getting to that year where if you're playing iso ball, you got to overpower your guy. You got to reach into that bag. I'm afraid Jason Tatum's going to settle for too many jump shots and end up dooming the Boston Celtics. Now, looking at this Eastern Conference play-in picture, Philly, Miami, Chicago, Atlanta. The Heat dropped a very crucial one last night to the Dallas Mavericks. Unfortunately, looking like they're going to get either 7 or 8. Philly very likely gets 7 or 8, so that'll be the first play-in game. Then we're going to have Chicago and Atlanta. That's already pretty much locked in. Atlanta can still get that as a home game, but this play-in picture, things can change, but there's about a 90% probability it will remain this 7, 8, 9, 10. What do we make of it?
I mean, I look at this Hawks matchup because they're going to be playing Chicago 100%.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
And we've played Chicago pretty well all year long, and Trae Young came back.
Right.
DeJounte was out.
Right.
And once again, it seems like, I mean, Trae had a solid game,
He had a
but
double-double.
it seems like when one's on and one's off, things tend to go a little bit better for the most part overall, whether we win, whether we lose. So Trae's going to be back for the play-in, obviously. DeJounte's going to be back for the play-in. What is this going to mean? Because when both of them are on the court, it's a problem. And it's not a problem because it's not like they don't like each other.
Right.
It's not like they don't want to play well together. It's not
Right.
like one of them wants the ball more than the other. They try their best to dish it out to each other, to dish it out to the rest of the team.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the spacing doesn't work. The tactics that Quinn Snyder tries to use, they don't work when both of them are on the court. DeJounte's a guy, when he gets the ball, he's going to take it to the basket or he's going to score. Trae Young's a guy, he might, try to get fancy with it, little floater, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to try and get that assist. So what do? We try to cater to their strengths, right? Get Trae, primary ball possessor, take it down the court, and get DeJounte open in space. If Trae can pass the ball to DeJounte goes to score. That's the best chance we have of trying to continue to play well with both of them on the court. Otherwise, it's not going to happen because if you have DeJounte trying to take the ball away, if you have Trae Young trying too much, trying to be too fancy, we're going to run into the same issues we've seen all year long.
Yeah, I mean, Gavin, you need to be on that Hawks coaching staff. You just gave them the game plan right there. I mean,
Gavin Snyder.
they've been playing together for what, 2 seasons at this point? I feel like they should have the game plan figured out. Because I mean, you said it all. Their playing styles are very different, but there's a way to make it work. It's going to be interesting to see. But the thing I'm most concerned about for this Hawks team is that we are going to be without Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu in this play-in tournament.
That's what I was about to say.
Because Jalen sprained his freaking ankle in that game against the Heat on Tuesday, and then Okongwu had a procedure for something in his big toe, so he's going to be out. He's going to be out for 4 weeks, and Jalen's going to be out for at least 3 weeks. And it's just, these are 2 of our main guys. I mean, Jalen Johnson has made some killer plays this season. He is a key player for this team, and being without him in the play-in tournament, it's going to be tough. I feel like we can get past the Bulls, but I don't know if we get past either the Heat or the Sixers without them.
Yeah, man, to keep this short and sweet, the Heat have to step their game up. I'm sick of this regular season sleepwalking. That game against the Hawks, it seemed like both teams wanted to lose. I mean, went to double overtime. The Heat escaped with a W. I was very happy, but I wasn't happy with the product I saw, getting blown out by the Mavericks last night. I still believe this Heat team can go on another run, but going to 2 consecutive finals as the 8 seed is incredibly hard, especially if you're the 8 seed against the Boston Celtics. If it does end up being Sixers Heat, the Heat, they're going to have to go into Philadelphia and get the job done. I do not want to see the Boston Celtics in the first round. You can't play in the regular season anymore. I'm sick of it, but I still have a lot of hope because Eric Spoelstra is the GOAT. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're recapping UConn's repeat.
Hey guys, this is Bobby Butler, and you're listening to Sports Pack only on the Wolf Sports.
You looking for some hot takes and debates? Well, Sports Pack's got you 6 to 7 Mondays and Thursdays. Out of Pocket's giving you sports with a comedic twist Wednesdays at 5. Maybe you're into that laid-back podcast type feel. Well, we've got 2 podcasts just for you. If you're looking for some gossip in the sports world, listen to Tea Time every other Friday at 5 p.m. And if you enjoy sitting around talking with your best buds about what's going on in sports, listen to Triple Threat every Monday. We're bringing you non-stop content every single week here on Wolf Sports Network.
You know, sometimes when I'm on air, I get very passionate, I get very fired up, and naturally that makes me hungry. The first restaurant that I think about is Jefferson's in Carrollton because their boneless wings are served up hot and fresh daily with not 18, not 19, but 20 different sauce options. Run, don't walk to Jefferson's to get yours. Located at 342 Maple Street, visit their website at jeffersons.com or follow them on Instagram at Jeffersons_Carrollton.
I done did the impossible.
The lob, and that will do it.
The Yukon Huskies officially repeating as national champions. The state of Connecticut is celebrating for 2 different reasons. Number 1, their coach staying home, and number 2, that national championship. Because guess what? Yes, going back-to-back is great, but Hurley staying home means they could three-peat. Everything looks incredible for the Huskies. An incredible time for basketball in the state of Connecticut. Their 6th national championship, which passes Duke all time, who has 5, and ties North Carolina, who has 6. Now, looking at the greater scheme of things, Kentucky still has 9. UCLA, I want to say, has 11. Yes, UCLA has 11, but guess what? UConn knocking on the door. They've won all of theirs in the past 30 years, and they don't look to be slowing down anytime soon. What do we make of this recent UConn dynasty?
I mean, it's been amazing to watch. Just the way they play the game of basketball is just straight up beautiful. I want to give a lot of props to Purdue because the first half of that national championship game, I was telling a lot of people, that first half of that national championship game is some of the best men's basketball I've seen in years, NBA and college. Now, let me just say just the first half because UConn pulled away.
Just first half.
But it was incredible. I went and rewatched because when I was watching the game live, I fell asleep when I was watching UConn versus Illinois. I was exhausted, but I fell asleep right as they went on that 30-0 run, and rewatching that was incredible. But the first half of that UConn and Purdue game was just chef's kiss, beautiful basketball. And the way UConn plays, the perfect mix between offense and defense, the way they have size up and down the roster, ball handlers up and down throughout their starting 5, they can just get it done in any way of the game. Like, they can just dominate you no matter what. You take away the inside, they can dominate from outside, mid-range. They have guys that can create their own shot. They've got Donovan Clingan, who really now – Zach Edey had a monster game, but he did his best to limit him, and at some points you could tell he was getting to Zach Edey. They made it to where if Zach Edey's going to be the only way you beat us. None of your other role players are going to produce. We'll let Zach Edey get his, but that's going to have to be how y'all win. And that's how UConn did it. Their plan worked to perfection, and they just flat out outplayed Purdue in the second half. They outlasted them, and everybody on their team put in some pain.
Yeah, it was an amazing game, just that first half. But, I mean, I said it, I think, on the show that, you know, it was going to be a close game in that first half between Purdue and UConn, and that just like in that Illinois game, just like in the Alabama game, they took off in the second half, and that's exactly what happened. Also, I said that they would have to win by limiting Purdue's three-pointers, and that's exactly what they did. They held the nation's second-best three-point shooting team to only 7 shots, and they only made 1 of those. So their defense really stepped up. I mean, they played an amazing game. They played an amazing tournament. They were extremely dominant. All of their wins were by no fewer than 13 points. That's just absolutely insane. They did great. They earned it.
Now that the dust has settled, and these were talks before the tournament kind of got started. These have really been talks for the last few years. After watching Zach Edey's evolution during college, after watching his play during every tournament that we've seen him in, is he a draft lottery talent? Is he a guy that should be drafted during the lottery, or is this a guy that may get picked up later on, may end up in the G League for a while? Where do we stand on Zach Edey?
If it was Zach Edey a year ago or even the year before that when Jaden Ivey was on the team, I'd say second round to undrafted because at that point he was just a big body. But Zach Edey this year has kind of shown everybody that he's really honed in his skills. He's not just a big body anymore. He's a pretty good offensive rebounder and defensive rebounder. He's a force down there. He's a stay in place more often to stop trying to help the guards defend. But other than that, he's a fairly good defender. And he finishes well around the rim. He has some great touch. Now, he's not one of those big guys who's going to boom on you the whole game, but he's shown he can get up for an alley-oop or two, and he has great touch around the rim. I feel like his presence alone and the way he can finish offensively makes him an asset to a lot of NBA teams like the Hawks who are in need of a true big man. I feel like he could be an asset for a lot of these NBA teams.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to agree with you. His game has definitely improved. He's matured. He's become a better player. And I was going to say he will be a key element to teams who need a true big man like the Hawks. So yeah, I think he's going to go. I think if he does go, has he already declared? Like, is he going to the draft?
At this point, I would.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he'll be a good pick.
Look, I'm one of the rare people who enjoys watching Zach Edey play basketball in a sense, right? Because, yes, sometimes it's a little formulaic. He's super big, gets fouled a bunch, but it's nice seeing a big man with that kind of touch around the rim. I mean, he's 7'4". It's an anomaly. It's fun seeing a guy that big, bang around down low. It's fun. But you know what? He's nowhere near a lottery talent. I wouldn't pick him in the first round. Personally, I would barely pick him in the second round. Now, look, incredible player at the college level. But NBA teams are not posting up anymore. The team that posts up the most in the league is the Denver Nuggets, and they do so less than 8% of the time. NBA teams on average are averaging less than a point per game from the post-up, 0.8 right now. The post-up is basically non-existent because teams are realizing unless you have an incredible big man like Jokic, it's not worth it. It's much better to shoot a three or get something easy right at the hoop. The whole post-up, back down, old Dirk Nowitzki, fall away, shoot, those days are over in the NBA. I hate it. I used to love that game. Kobe was great at the post. Right. LeBron back in 2012, great in the post, but that's just not the way the NBA is trending. You take him out of the post, Luka. He's terrible. But guess what? Also, one of the biggest liabilities in the NBA will be Zach Edey on defense. Imagine some of these big men going at Zach Edey like Jokic. It's going to be Giannis, Embiid. I mean, dude, come on. Like, he's a fine bench piece. He'll be a nice complementary player. But I would much rather take a guy like Dalton Knecht out of Tennessee, a very talented, explosive guard right there in the middle of the first round, rather than put all my chips in on a guy I just don't think can produce very well at that next level. I could be wrong, but there's other guys like Walker Kessler who have come in over the last couple years who weren't as good in college, but their game translates better. I don't see his game necessarily translating to the NBA.
I want to briefly go back to what you were saying a minute ago, saying that the post-up game is dead, and it is as of right now. But I'd argue that's part of the main problem with the NBA. Now their ratings are tanking for a number of different reasons that I won't get into, a lot political, but one of the biggest things is the fact that basketball isn't being played the way basketball should be played at this point.
Nope.
Now I know, who's this guy talking about how to play basketball? He played baseball in high school. Yeah, I did, but I know exactly what I'm talking about. The game of basketball is dying at the moment.
Preach.
And it's because there is no inside game right now. It's an ISO game. Now in the college game with teams like UConn, and especially in women's college basketball, you see the game of basketball being played the way it should be. The game's a puzzle. They move the ball around, move it. You saw it best in the NBA with those recent Spurs teams that beat the Heat in the finals a few years back. I mean, that's how you play the game of basketball. You move the ball, you unlock different pieces, you move the ball around, it unlocks holes into the defense. But the problem is it's too much ISO ball now. It's one-on-one, dribble. I might pass it to you with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, then you're just going to jack up a three. That's the problem with the game of basketball right now. It's dying. It's not being played the right way. Everybody's the individual, and it's not being played as a team. That's why when you have teams like UConn in the college game that really incorporate everyone and everybody on that team contributes, you have guys up and down the roster stepping up in key moments. That's why they are so dominant against all these other teams, especially against Illinois, where they were pretty much superstar heavy with Shannon Terrence in the Sweet 16. I mean, now let me not go down the rabbit hole. I could talk about this all day, and I haven't really prepared. This isn't really prepared, but I feel like that's one of the biggest problems, and it's not really a team game anymore. They don't work the inside as well with the outside. It's either we live and die by the three, or we live and die in the paint. Like, there's no in between. There's no sweet spot.
Now, the state of Kentucky in a little bit of upheaval right now because, as you know, John Calipari introduced as the new Arkansas basketball coach. They can't find a new guy
Nobody wants to
for
coach
Big Blue
there.
Nation, okay? Because Nate Oates said no. Scott Drew from Baylor, they offered him. He said no. They say BYU's Mark Pope is a candidate. They're still talking to Billy Donovan supposedly a little bit. There's been other names floated around like Bruce Pearl. Where do we think Kentucky ends up going in this coaching search?
I mean, if I'm a coach, why am I saying no to Kentucky? And I say that because you've had historic success over however many years. You've got a coach that was legendary at one point, but kind of trailed off towards the end of his tenure in Kentucky. If anything, that just makes it completely open for you. It's a completely open program. It's a chance for you to restart, a chance for you to take that blue blood name and make it your own and create a new identity for a team like Kentucky. If I'm a coach, I'm jumping on it. Unless I'm like, obviously like UConn's coach, Houston coach, unless I'm a coach of a team that is going to consistently make deep runs into March Madness every single year, I see no reason if I'm offered to not at least explore it, not at least, just say, hey, I'm going to try it out for a couple of years and see what happens. They're going to give you the resources. They're going to give you money. They're going to give you all the opportunities to reach out to players. They're going to give you everything possible because the head guys at Kentucky, they're desperate for some success right now. They've been struggling, losing the second round, losing in the third round every single year for the last couple of years. So at what point do you as a coach say, okay, I'm going to try this?
I think you just said, I think the fact that the big heads want success because they've been losing so much, I think that might be why some coaches are turning it down, because they want instant success in Kentucky, and I don't know if any of these coaches can guarantee that. Like, when a new coach goes to a school, to a new team, it's obviously going to take some time for them to get into the groove, create their own culture at the team, with the school, all of that. But Kentucky wants instant success, and I don't think any of these coaches can guarantee that, and that might be why they're not going there.
I think at the end of the day, Kentucky probably lands on Mark Pope. I think it makes a lot of sense if he's one of the guys they're talking to. I mean, Bruce Pearl, yes, I think he'd be a great hire. He's a great coach, but obviously they just went out in the first round. They might want to go in a different direction. Billy Donovan, probably the best hire available, but he said he wants to stay in Chicago. We'll see. But look, man, yes, college basketball is over, but we're about to get into some college football, and we all know the summer goes by fast. That is right around the corner, and there is no place better to catch college football, NFL, MLB, any sport under the sun than Jefferson's in Carrollton on their 20 flat-screen TVs at their bar with 16 draft beers. Please drink responsibly. They also have a covered porch with a bunch of TVs. It's incredible for watching the big game or the small game. Located at 342 Maple Street, visit their website at jeffersons.com or follow them on Instagram at Jeffersons_Carrollton.
Baby, it's college football time. Give me my theme music.
It has been a while since we've heard that, but it fires me up, and I know it fires up America too. Now, we have an incredible slate of spring games this Saturday. Georgia G-Day, Alabama A-Day. We got LSU. We got Ohio State down the pipeline. Rich, you're going to kick it to you first. What are you looking at in this incredible slate of spring football?
I mean, you said it yourself. We got a lot of big time spring games coming up. It's never too early to start talking about college football. We got UGA with G-Day, Alabama A-Day. You got LSU spring game, Ole Miss spring game. A lot of schools that we're going to touch on and that a lot of people are going to talk about in the spring window and even in the fall window. But I want to talk about a team that's going to be a bit of a sleeper to some people. I want to talk about the Kansas Jayhawks spring game. Yes, Kansas, the basketball school. Well, they've been a football school for the past couple years as well now. They've been having some great football teams, a lot of success on the offensive side of the field with Jalen Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, Jalen Daniels, their quarterback. And I feel like this all depends on how he recovers from this back injury. Now, they did lose their offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, who just went to Penn State. I think that was a phenomenal hire. Penn State's another spring game to watch. They need to get more explosive on the offensive side. And I think bringing Kotelnicki in there is exactly what they need. Open up that playbook, push the ball down the field. But see, I done got off topic talking about Penn State. See, I'm excited. It's a lot to talk about. But I think Kansas in the Big 12 is going to be a big-time sleeper. Now, they've been dynamic offensively behind Jalen Daniels and that great offense they've had for the past 2 or 3 years now. But I think their defense is extremely underrated. They got a corner out there named Kobe Bryant. He is straight up shut down. I think they have a few corners out there that are really going to step up this year. And they might have one of the better secondaries in the country. So you look at this Big 12, you got teams like Utah that just came in. They're the overwhelming favorite to win it this year. You still got Kansas State. You got Texas Tech, who have one Cam Brown down there competing for a starting job this spring as well, UWG transfer. And you got teams like Colorado. Now, there are a lot of big-time names out there, big-time schools out there in the Big 12, but it's still fairly wide open. So when I look at Kansas, they're not the favorites right now. If you're a betting man or a betting woman, I just put a couple dollars down on Kansas to win the Big 12 real quick, or at least to play in the Big 12 championship, because they have an offense that depends on the health of this quarterback, Jalen Daniels, but they also have an up-and-coming defense that I think is going to catch a lot of people off guard this fall.
Man, you're not lying about Kansas. There was a recent poll that came out, ESPN released. It was the top 10 college football coaches in the country. And they surveyed coaches, so it's not, just Joe Schmo from ESPN ranking it. A lot of people disagreed. It's these coaches that, sometimes they can be a little bit biased, but overall, they know ball. They know their stuff. And Lance Leipold, the coach for Kansas, was top 10. People were up in arms about it. But look,
he's one of the best coaches in the game right now.
He is. And what he has done for that program is revolutionary. This 12-team playoff opens the door for teams like Kansas to make it. You look at the Big 12, it is wide open. There's 8 teams that can win it. Some people look at Kansas State, Oklahoma State. A lot of people look at Utah. Obviously, Whittingham, arguably a top 5 coach in the country. Definitely top 10.
Arizona, I forgot to mention
Arizona,
those. They're going to be great. Oh, my gosh.
Arizona did lose their coach, Jeb Fish. He's off in Washington now, so it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that. But last year, they were an incredible team, were really competitive in their bowl game, had a good regular season. I'm really excited to see what they're cooking there. But, man, I want to talk about Alabama a little bit, obviously, right?
No.
Yes, some people are still doubting Kalen DeBoer. Those people are very foolish. Now, look, Kendrick Law, great talent. Getting Jeremy Bernard from Washington, incredible. Kobe Prentice, Bama fans know, incredible talent. Waiting for him to step up, but I think this is going to be his time. These receivers have the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yep.
Genuinely. Isaiah Bond left. He's in Texas. That's great. I understand the appeal. Quinn Ewers, I don't think he's a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe. Yes, he may get you on a few more deep balls, but overall,
he's got a lot to prove this year.
He does. He absolutely does, right? And yes, Sarkisian, you can argue the best offensive coach in the country, but what I see in Kalen DeBoer is the best coach in the country for wide receivers. You saw what he did at Washington these past 2 years, producing absolute studs going to the NFL level. This is going to sound crazy, but I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that Kalen DeBoer is an upgrade over Nick Saban. I believe that wholeheartedly, because Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time, absolutely. But a 72, about to be 73-year-old Nick Saban versus a guy who just took Washington to 14-1 in the national championship, I'm taking the younger, fresh Kalen DeBoer coming in, putting instilling a new culture. That's what's important to me. I know Saban had arguably one of the best cultures. I think Kirby passed him up around 2021, 2022. Things at Bama started to feel a little stale to me, genuinely. 2020 was probably his best team. 2021 had the most talent. Georgia beat him in the national championship game. Had a rough regular season. 2022, again, another rough regular season. When I say that, that's 3 losses in 2 years in the regular season. It doesn't seem that rough, but you're struggling more than usual, not dominating the teams the way we're accustomed to. The offensive coordinator was struggling. The defensive coordinator was struggling. Now, last year, Tommy Rees did a decent job. Kevin Steele did a decent job, but guess what? I think they've upgraded at the coordinator positions. I think Kalen DeBoer is coming in with a chip on his shoulder, ready to prove himself in the SEC. I will be seated. I cannot wait for A-Day. I'll be in Las Vegas, but you know darn well I will be watching A-Day.
I think Kalen DeBoer is going to be great down there in Alabama. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's going to be an improvement over Nick Saban. I get your argument with it, but Kalen DeBoer is a great coach, and a lot of people are crapping on him right now, but he's a great coach. He's pushing a lot of kids to the NFL, and you see what he did with that Washington program. Had them playing in the national championship, a game that was in their grasp up until the fourth quarter. Their entire team was just rattled at that point. He's brought in a great defensive staff, one of the most underrated defensive staffs in the country. He's still having big recruiting wins. Getting Ryan Williams to stay committed to Alabama was one of the biggest recruiting wins of the cycle, and a lot of people aren't really talking about it because they want Alabama to be bad under Kalen DeBoer. And me as a Georgia fan, you would expect me to, but above all things else, I'm a realist. And I believe that Kalen DeBoer is going to have a lot of success at Alabama. I don't think they're going to have a down year. Maybe to Bama standards, they might go 9-3 as their floor. But I could easily see this Alabama team still making the playoff, still pushing deep into these new rounds of the playoff and having success. I like to see Jalen Milroe develop under Kalen DeBoer. He's done great with quarterbacks over his tenure at all these different schools. And I think the sky's going to be the limit. I think they're still going to be contenders. He might not live up to Nick Saban, but nobody in the country lives up to Nick Saban. I expect them to have a lot of success, and I think Jalen Milroe is going to progress this season. He's dynamic, and in that Kalen DeBoer offense, it's going to be magical.
And look, super quick, yes, Caleb Downs left. Really the only big-time exit. Caden Proctor coming back. He went to Iowa for a few months, came back. That is a huge acquisition. That was kind of a goofy situation. That's a huge reacquisition. Not even an acquisition, it's a reacquisition. But I'm really excited to see Keon Sabb, Caleb Downs' replacement, coming in from National Championship Michigan. He didn't start all the games for Michigan. Only started about 4 or 5 games for them. I'm really excited to see him step in that role and get a lot of playing time at Bama. Now, binge drinking is consuming 5 drinks or more on one occasion for males and 4 drinks or more for females. However, some college students drink at least twice that amount. That is why Printers Ale has joined Wolf Radio and Wolf Sports Network's Drink Responsibly campaign to make sure all of our Wolves stay safe when drinking. Never drink under the age of 21 and always have a designated driver. Oh, make sure you throw in some good food, like Dine West, or even better, Jefferson's. Visit printers-ale.com to learn more. When we get back, we're talking sports news, baby.
Hey, this is 5-time Olympic medalist Alana Myers-Taylor, and you're listening to Sports Pack, only on the Wolf Sports Network.
Real quick reminder, this is Richard Reed here. Just want to remind you all that we are an R&D to radio station first, and as of right now, we're taking a song break. So head on over to wolfsportsnetwork.com, hit the play button in the top left corner of the screen, listen to the great music that we're playing right now. Then when the songs are over, either stay tuned over there or hop back over here on YouTube, keep watching us, and check out our website if you have some time. We got some great blog posts on there, nice little podcast, triple threat tea time. Just make yourself at home and send it out to all your friends and family. We'll be back soon talking sports news.
This is John Howie, your host of Wolf Sports Network's newest podcast. I'm glad the Falcons fired Arthur Smith. I am also joined by Jackson Schrader.
We gotta first say the vibes in South Beach right now are immaculate.
And along with Jason Barker.
DJ Moore is about to make every fantasy manager who needs 30 points dreams come true tonight.
And together, we are Triple Threat. So make sure to tune in on Mondays to get your week started off right.
Remember, you can always reload and continue grabbing your favorites from Starbucks or Chick-fil-A. On-campus dining also fits all your dietary needs. You can head over to the grill for a burger patty and the salad bar for a delicious low-carb meal. Follow Dine West on Instagram at UWGDine_West to keep up on your campus dining options.
The Dodgers introducing Shohei Ohtani after signing him to a record-breaking contract.
Nick Saban is retiring.
Breaking news on Sports Pack.
Now, the first thing that I really want to get into is the Atlanta Braves game today. Sir Gavin Ellis, he made the trip up to Atlanta, watched his beloved Braves fall 16-4 to the New York Mets.
I didn't mean to say that.
It wasn't a pretty performance. Gavin, what's your main takeaway from the Braves' struggles today?
My main takeaway is that not having Spencer Strider healthy is killing us. And I say that because today we had to have Alan Winans start. And you're like, who's Alan Winans? Exactly. He hung around in the minor leagues for a while. We brought him up to try and help out the rotation a little bit. Gave up like 7 runs in the first 3 innings, something like that. And granted, a couple of them were off of poor throws, a couple errors. Ozzie had an error. Orlando Arcia had an error. Duvall had an off-target throw. And that kind of resulted with some of the runs. But at the same time, the bullpen looked terrible aside from him. Tyler Matzik, Dylan Lee, just not a great performance overall by our pitching staff today. And the bats have kind of gone cold. And aside from a few players, Matt Olson had a triple, but then he struck out twice. Orlando Arcia struck out a couple times, I'm pretty sure. Michael Harris had a couple line outs. It's basically, we're not finding empty gaps in the field. That's what's happening. A lot of hard hit balls, a lot of hard hit missiles, really, and then it's just hit straight to the other team. So the main thing that the Braves have to worry about right now is pitching. Chris Sale, solid starter. Charlie Morton, solid starter. Max Fried has had a terrible, awful start to his season, and I'm kind of upset that we're paying him for the 1 year, $20 million, but that's besides the point. Ronaldo Lopez, who's another new guy, a young guy, he's been pretty good so far, kind of filling in that gap. But we need to go out and get a pitcher. And there's rumors that we're thinking about trading with the Miami Marlins to get a pitcher from them. And it makes no sense to me. A lot of their guys are on IL. They don't really have a great rotation as it is. And it's an in-division rival. Why are we trading with an in-division rival in the middle of the season, or really towards the beginning of the season? It just doesn't make much sense to me. What does make a lot of sense to me, and this may be controversial, but there's a guy out in Asia, out in Japan, and no, he's not Asian.
Across the pond, you say?
Trevor Bauer playing in Japan right now. And that might be controversial, but at the same time, he has been electric overseas, absolutely dynamite. And in spring training, whenever his Japanese team came and played the Yankees, he dominated New York. I'm talking like straight up dominated them. So it's like, if Trevor Bauer's looking for a contract in the MLB, which he has been for a long time, he was one of the best pitchers in the league when he was around, literally top 5 in all of the MLB. If he's looking for a squad to hop onto, why not hop onto a winning squad, a team that's looking for a World Series push every year for the next 5 years, even if we just pay him for 1 year. He's going to take whatever money we give him. I guarantee it's going to be more than what he's making in Japan. And then all of a sudden, we've got a high-level starter, may not be at Spencer Strider's level anymore, but he's the guy that's going to go out there and get you 6 solid innings, probably strike out about 8 guys and limit to 2 runs or less a game. And that's exactly what we need right now. That's what we're missing right now. As soon as Strider went down, all of a sudden, teams started scoring a lot more runs every game that he was supposed to start, and we've been losing them. I think we go out and get Trevor Bauer. We pay him whatever he wants because it's not going to be that much, and all of a sudden, we're back to winning again.
I mean, honestly, I don't disagree at all. I look at this Braves team, and your offense is absolutely dynamic. I mean, it might be one of the best offenses I've ever seen. Now, last year's Braves team also had one of the best offenses we've ever seen, and they got everyone for about 10 years. 10 decades. I mean, it's incredible what A's are able to do. And for cheap, too, in that front office. It's amazing. But you're right. Hitting wins games. Pitching wins championships. You guys have to make a move. I just want to give a quick shout out to my Pittsburgh Pirates right now. 9-3, first in the NL. It's incredible. It's a Cinderella run. It's not going to last.
Half.
Hey, man, I'm enjoying it. I know it's not going to last, but guess what? I am enjoying it. I think it's incredible seeing a team that everyone really craps on. Nobody believes in. Everyone says, oh, man, the Pirates, it's a Steelers and it's a Penguins town. Well, guess what? Not only is PNC Park the best ballpark in the MLB, but the Pirates have incredible uniforms. They got a lot of confidence. And guess what? They got the appeal of the little guy. They got the appeal of little Bobby, who might not be the best hitter. He might not be the best pitcher. But guess what? When he gets on base, he steals and the whole crowd goes wild. The Pirates are little Bobby this year. Watch out for him. Now, we have to take a quick segue to the Masters. Bryson DeChambeau right now at 7 under, leading the pack. Scotty Scheffler, heavy Masters favorite at 6 under. Got some other guys down the leaderboard looking really good. Zalatoris at 2 under. Our guy Tiger Woods right now tied for 15th at 1 under. He's looking incredible.
Celibacy cleans.
What is our takeaway from this round 1 in the Masters so far? A lot of these guys aren't even on the back 9 yet, or they're just making the turn right now because obviously rain pushed it back. A lot of the tee-offs were 3:30 and after. Tiger's doing great. We're seeing guys, like I said, going crazy. Richard, what's your takeaway so far?
Celibacy for the win.
Okay, Carly.
I think it's interesting that John Rahm, however you say his last name.
Rumbo.
He is tied for 42 right now, +1, so that's interesting. Reigning champ down in the leaderboard, but I'm excited to see Scotty Scheffler move up.
Now, there's a lot of controversy in the golf world between the Live League, Live League, and the PGA. Live's almost like AEW, PGA is like WWE in a way, right? So, if you're a WWE fan. But the funny thing is, the leader right now, Bryson DeChambeau, is one of the head players, the main players for Live. So it's kind of stirring a little bit between Live and PGA, because PGA is still saying, well, we're the best. But at the same time, you've got a lot of solid guys over there making a push to try and win the Masters. And if a guy from Live wins the Masters, Rahm won it last year. And then as soon as he won, he went straight to Live Golf. They're paying him a lot more, that's why. But if DeChambeau can win, and you've got 2 Live Golf players winning the Masters 2 years in a row, all those guys in the PGA, are going to say, hey, why don't we go over there? They're paying me more, and I might be better for it. That's all I'm saying. All those old heads, all those 80-year-olds out in Augusta right now are kicking rocks.
Oh, yeah, they about to be. If one of those live Live, I don't.
It's Live. Just remember that T.I. and Rihanna song, like, live your life.
Got you. If one of those Live players win it, like you said, it's going to be a lot of angry old white men right around America. They're not going to be happy at all.
They already hate DeChambeau because of the way he plays regardless, so it's going to be a whole thing.
And there's already a lot of debate with, like, oh, where's all this money coming from?
You know what?
Live. So it's like, it's just this whole...
I love it.
And I love it, too. I love the competition. I love the PGA Tour versus Live. See who comes out on top. But I'm telling you what, do not sleep on Tiger Woods. He just passed hole number 9. He's making the turn at Augusta. And guess what? We have seen Tiger Woods go crazy as the week evolves. Yes, it's Thursday. If he turns it on Friday, he goes into Saturday within striking distance. I am telling you right now, Tiger Woods, he's looking good in that new gear. He's not in Nike anymore. He's in his little Sunday red brand. And guess what?
Look, man. All you got to do is stay clean for a couple more days, and it's on. Look, celebrate on Sunday. And Monday, and Tuesday. Come on, man.
Hey, look. Tiger playing great. It's going to be an incredible finish to the Masters. That is all the time we have for Sports Pack. I'm going to be in Vegas on Monday, so I'm not going to be in studio, but please tune in. It's going to be an incredible show with our man Richard Reed, or Gianna hosting. Who's hosting?
Probably Gianna.
Probably Gianna. So Gianna's going to run it, host. It's going to be incredible. I'll be back that following Thursday. With all that being said, for Richard, Carly, Gianna, Gavin, this is your sports director, Brendan Willoughby Ray, signing you out, saying watch those Masters. It's going to be amazing.
You are now listening to WSN.